Привет, Yulia. Как дела? Today is Monday, January the 30th at 11:43 a.m. here in San Francisco. I hope this message finds you doing better and doing well, even though you're still in prison. And I want you to know that part of my hopes of, through discussing with you these daily messages is for us to be able to see clearer the injustification of your prison sentence. And uh, for example, today my thoughts are concerning how to spot a rat in the oil markets, because yesterday, or the previous message, was centered around um, the taige, which is basically the tundra regions and the northern latitudes, the Canada basically, and the Arctic Circle and all of the land that it makes up the northern hemisphere. So, um, with that being said, all of this land that we're covering is all rich in oil. Okay. However, there's a rat that is playing heavily in the markets, which is why you're serving a prison sentence. And so, therefore, it is the main idea that I have going on in my mind today is how to spot them. Okay. And there's one word that I like to use in terms of how to spot a rat in the oil markets, and that is a very simple word. It's complacency. Now, the reason why I've come to the conclusion that complacency is a good indication of a rat in the oil markets is because oil is energy. And anytime anyone approaches the oil markets, the energy sector, with a complacent attitude, has got to be a rat. Because you cannot be complacent with something that says I'm energy. Alright? And I want to use the Chinese market, what is going on right now in the Chinese market, as a clear indicator. Why the Chinese market? Because the Chinese market is exploding right now. And it's the best market to use when we want to talk about energy. Okay? And so, therefore, if there's a rat in the energy market, well, the rat will show up where the energy is going to be consumed. Okay? Now, the United States consumes a lot of energy. However, its financial markets, its GDP, has not reflected it in the last few years. So, what am I using? This is another reason why I'm using the Chinese market, because of the GDP. Chinese GDP. Prior to me doing this interview, I haven't looked at the numbers for 2011, but I can give you some other numbers that inside of the petroleum market, inside the oil market, that says that yes, we're using a whole lot of energy, and our GDP, we already know, is is high in comparison to the U.S. Okay, so I want to look at this for just a moment, and hopefully these, by the time we finish, or as we go along, we'll be able to spot the rat and be able to change places, trade places. You and that rat will be able to trade places in terms of having to serve time in prison. Okay. Now, in the Chinese market, Iran is the third largest supplier of Chinese oil. Okay, and I just got off of Twitter with Plaju, and he delivered me these numbers that were printed in the Wall Street Journal, and that is that oil imports from Iran was up 30% in 2011 to 557,000 barrels a day. So we know that right now China is importing 557,000 barrels of oil from Iran every day. Okay, now here we go. We're dealing with energy. Okay, and there's all types of form of energy. There's nuclear energy. Okay, there's oil. There's the sun, solar energy. I mean, we have alternative energy. We have all kinds of energy, right? Okay, but when it comes to Iran, Iran has two primary concerns. Right now, they're developing nuclear energy, and they have a heck of a petroleum industry going on. Okay, now what has the United States done? I'm looking for who's being complacent. First of all, the United States has threw a flag out and said, "Hey, Mr. Iran, we're going to sanction you because you're developing nuclear energy." Now, we already know that this nuclear energy has been given blessings from Russia. Okay, so which is another energy producing nation, or let's just say OPEC. Okay, now when the U.S. imposes sanctions on Iran because their concerns on nuclear energy is simply to slow down the petroleum markets, more energy, because that energy, that is, in other words, to the United States, Iran is blowing up with energy. Okay, nuclear energy, and they're exporting energy to China, which is happening to be up to 557,000 barrels a day, 30% more than the previous year. Okay, now let's look at the United States, which is supposedly an even higher consumer. Okay, right now going on in the United States, there's Canada. Okay, and Canada is throwing down this Keystone pipeline straight through the United States. Okay, which has the ability to put out over 830,000 barrels of oil per day. It's already producing 830,000 barrels a day. And President Obama wants to reject it. Now, this is how we spot a rat in the doggone oil market. Because the only sense that you can tell me is the only reasoning that I can understand with these decisions that the U.S. have made over the past few years is that the only conclusion I can come to is this: the United States is saying to Canada, "I know you can send to me 800,000 barrels of oil per day at a cheaper expense, and I can refine it and do all sorts of business with it. However, however, it appears to me in Eurasia they're outproducing. Okay, how can I slow the Middle East down? How can I slow China down? Okay, when I'm the supplier." So, to me, in my mind, the U.S. has got this petroleum game all backwards, all backwards. Okay, and the Chinese market right now is here to show it to us directly. Okay, now how does this relate to Ukraine? I only have about another couple minutes because I like to keep these videos in 7 to 9. I'm already a little over 9 minutes. But how does this affect the Ukraine? And how can we see the Ukraine in these dealings that the United States has had or can already be seen having in the oil markets? Okay, and that's the question that we want to look at: is how is the U.S. trying to influence, okay, the Ukrainian markets? Because my biggest concern is the spread of capitalism, okay? Because if the U.S. government is going to want to tell the world that capitalism is the way to go, why isn't there energy? Okay? Why is capitalism trying to impose slow on everybody who is consuming energy when they have the energy? Okay? So, in other words, if capitalism is trying to grip in on Ukraine, it's going to reflect in the energy market. Okay? And so we have a lot of work ahead of us. All right? And China right now, I could tell you, is looking into the Keystone situation. Okay? Because if the U.S. is not going to utilize that oil, then we have the Hoven's bill to utilize an advancement, because the Hoven bill basically says the United States will take as much time as it needs to take any oil out of Keystone, because first we have to see what kind of success we can have with pulling petroleum out of the doggone Eurasian region. So I'm going to take my time, because somehow I'm in capitalism thinking I control it all. But capitalism is in serious debt. Okay? And while they're sitting around thinking about how successful I can be, they're running up so much debt that it's all about to cave in. Meantime, Chinese markets is out there hunting down this rat that is showing up in the oil markets. Till then, we're going to get down to the bottom so that your freedom and your release can become sooner than later. I hope you have a better day every day as we get closer to the bottom of why have you been sentenced to prison. Talk to you later. Bye bye.